let them down. All right, let's settle ourselves for the meditation practice. And I won't spend too much time on the meditation today. Um, oh, let's close that down. There we go. Right. Okay, let's begin. So, before we start the meditation, let's just do a quick recap of the process. We were stuck in the jungle, in the darkness, and the suffering, and the, I guess, confusion as to what path should I follow. We come out into a meadow clearing. Our teacher greets us. We go across the river in a boat. We get to the other side, and there's this incredible sort of set of marble stairs leading up to a triangle room. We go inside, and we see our corpse. And on the left side, there's a fire. On the right side, there's a coat, a beautiful coat, draped over a chair. We look inside the coffin, and there's all these dead bugs, really scary, not looking good bugs. We take those bugs, dead bugs, we throw them in the fire, and this represents purification of karma. We then take the jewels that are in the right side of the left side of the coffin, well, our right, and we take those jewels, we walk over to the coat, and the coat automatically is adorned with these jewels. And this is symbolic of our act of taking refuge. We then move into the corridor, a glass windows on either side, and we see for miles and miles the suffering of sentient beings in many, many different realms, in many different life forms. And we realize that this is samsara. We open another door and we move into a 12-sided glass mirror room, and we see our reflection off into infinity. And we realize that whatever past actions we've done will be reflected throughout time, and whatever we do now will continue that reflection and add to it. We walk down the sunken steps into an area where there are statues on sort of podiums or stands, and we are very careful not to knock these statues over. It's very delicate, and this represents keeping our vows, especially in this case, the 10 virtues. We then open a door and move into another room, and that room represents the 6 perfections, and that's where we are now. The 6 perfections, pretty much as we were going through it, and I'm going to recap some of them as well because it's quite long, is we saw a little area on the left which represents gifts, different types of gifts, material giving, the deeds to a house, physical protection, Valentine, bottle of medicine, and then finally the Buddha's teachings, which is the ultimate gift. And then we close the boxes, we cross to the second wall, and we notice a little bonsai, a little weeping willow, and this is a reflection of our morality and our ability to keep our vows, in this case, the 10 virtues. And then we turn to our left, we walk to the third wall, and there's a log on a little pond, and we remember that this is, as we sit, we recall the perfection of patience with not getting angry, and trying our best to remain calm. So number 1, perfection of giving. Number 2, perfection of morality. Number 3, perfection of patience. Then we move to another wall, and there's a video of children playing in a playground. They're laughing, and this is a symbol or a reminder of the perfection of joy, that as we work towards our enlightenment, let's imply some joyful efforts in meditation, yoga, whatever it is we do, and of course the joyful effort in helping others with their problems and their suffering. And to make it joyful, right? To be happy for them. Sometimes I wonder, why be happy? Well, be happy for others, brighten their day. Then we move to another wall with this little microscope, and we're going to start the meditation there. Okay, so let's take a nice deep breath in through the nose, breathing slowly out the nostrils with control. Another deep breath in through the nose. And slowly breathing it out the nostrils with control. And last big breath in. Opening your mouth, gently sigh the breath out. And we come back to our visualization. We're at the fifth corner of the wall in the hexagonal room. And we see a microscope. We walk over and we realize that this microscope is the perfection of concentration. It's our commitment to our meditation, to develop and strengthen our mind, to have enough mental fitness to be able to stay focused, to stay on the object that we choose. We are encouraged to meditate for an hour a day. And we think, oh gosh, how can I do that? But as we start to think it, we might start planting the karma to be able to do that. And this represents the fifth perfection, which is the perfection of concentration. In the niche to the left of the door is a velvet pedestal holding a diamond brilliantly cut. We put down the microscope and we carefully put the diamond on the microscope stage and focus the microscope on the diamond. This represents the direct perception of emptiness. We leave the microscope in place and go back to the brilliant red door. You turn and take a look back into the hexagonal room. You look at how the incense, the smoke of the incense, permeates the entire room that you lit earlier. And this represents the wish for enlightenment which permeates your life. You turn and face the door, another door, and there's a lock on it, and only people that are practicing the six perfections well will have the combination to enter the next room. It's secret room. It's off limits to most. Above the lock on the door are the four measurables. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separate from the highest happiness, which is free from suffering. And may they come to rest in the great equanimity, which is free from attachment and aversion to those near and far. As we recite these four verses, we remember that we are a spiritual warrior, a bodhisattva. We open the door inward and we follow our teacher into a crystal room ablaze with rainbow light. I like to think that ordinary white light can be magically broken down into the full spectrum of colors. This represents opening your mind to the secrets of achieving total enlightenment. You have now moved into the phase of the Vajrayana or Tantra. On the walls are life-size tankas or paintings of the major tantric deities. And in the middle of the room is a crystal throne with cushions of silver and gold brocade. Your teacher taps you on the shoulder and says, "It's time." They walk over to the throne and sit down in full lotus. You stand in front of them and make 3 full-length prostrations in your mind. This is not an act of worship, it's an act of respect. At this stage, we have reached tantric empowerment in our Buddhist journey. It's not easy to get an empowerment. Your teacher agrees to give you the 4 empowerments. They give you your text, your sadhana, and your vow commitments. It might feel like a lot, but if you study them properly and you work hard, you'll be fine. You turn around to your left and go to the far door, which is also brilliant red. You open the door to the left again, you enter your teacher first, and you close the door. You're in a brightly lit corridor. On the left, running the full length of the corridor, is a window with a countertop on top of bookshelves with glass doors. The countertop is white marble flecked with gold. And the countertop, there's a book containing all your secret vows, and then books explaining the details of your vows. There is a bar stool and a comfortable reading chair in the corridor. Your teacher sits in the reading chair and smiles as they watch you study your vows. In a few minutes, you look up and you look out the window. You see a kaleidoscope of ever-changing scenes of society. And this represents the innumerable teaching opportunities you can get if you look for them. This scene reminds you that your practice is 24/7 as your karmas are constantly ripening. We will end that visualization now, taking in a nice deep breath in through the nose and breathing it out the mouth. Blinking the eyes open. Okay, so let's just pull up the image of the journey that we've been on. Where did I put it? There we go. I did have it open and then I closed it. Okay, share screen. So the forest was down here. We walk up the stairs. There's the triangle room with the corpse. The corridor with the windows on either side. We view samsara. Here's the karma room with the mirrors, with our reflection, and the sunken floor with the statues on stands. Here is the sixth perfection room. And we went into this rainbow room, crystal rainbow room, and we got our tantric empowerment. And then we move into F, where there's like a little hallway with a nice comfy chair and a bookshelf where we study the vows that we've taken here, the tantric vows. Okay. But we go back a step and we look at we go back to the microscope and we realize that actually meditation from a Buddhist perspective is not about calming your mind or de-stressing or, you know, using nice affirmations or just being like mentally well. All of those benefits are obviously, you know, all of those things are benefits of meditation. But from a Buddhist perspective, there's more. There's much more. That's only 5% of the benefits of meditation, you could say. The real benefits of meditation is preparing our mind to understand emptiness, which is the diamond. So we move to the sixth perfection, which is the perfection of wisdom. Obviously, the perfection of wisdom relates to karma, that everything is coming from seeds that we plant. Okay? But in meditation, we familiarize ourselves with that concept. Okay? So as we meditate so what can happen then is our mind, through being able to focus and through being able to eliminate the noise of daily life, we then can have a direct perception of emptiness, which means that you can have a direct perception of the emptiness of your own mind. Beyond thoughts, beyond even what we call mind. But we can only understand mind if we look at mind. We can only understand mind if we sit with mind. And we become like a mind scientist, our own mind scientist. But these days, it's becoming harder and harder to get to that stage where we experience wisdom directly, not through books, not through teachings, but to see the emptiness of our mind directly. That is becoming increasingly difficult in a world of stimulation and constant entertainment. And that is the reason for us to develop a daily meditation practice. A big part of that understanding is the idea of a no self, a non-self. Because ego, your ego, is very much about the creation of a self, the protection of a self, and the maintenance of a self. Whereas Buddhism, its main aim of Buddhism is to deconstruct the self and to get you thinking that you will not be around forever. So death is a big part of the contemplation. To say, you will die, you will lose your body, you will lose your memory of this life, and everything that you think and remember will be gone. You will not remember this life. You will not take this body with you. It will be completely erased, because that is not who you are. Who you are is purely your karma that you take with you into your next life. Your deeds, your actions, your thoughts, your likes, your dislikes, how we helped others, how we hurt others, your habits. Those are the things we will take with us. And that will create our world and our environment in the next life. You know, if we hurt people, if we harm people, we may be reborn in a war-torn environment where we don't have food and we're starving and there's famine. If we're lucky, if we're not so lucky, we'll be reborn in the lower realms as animals or ghosts or hell beings. And those are far more painful than any painful place on this planet, according to the Buddha. Now, animals for me seem like they have a good time because the cat lies on the couch and the dog is fed well, but that is a 0.00000000000.0000001% of the animal kingdom. The majority of the animal kingdom is fighting to survive. They are terrified. They are trying their best to gather something to eat. They are trying their best not to be eaten. They are always, I mean, I go outside, little birdie flies away from me. You know, the bird does not feel safe. And it never will and never does, even though birds are cool. You know, I don't keep running away from, okay, if I see an irritating neighbor, I might run away from them, you know. But it's not like I'm fearing my life, okay? So that's why, you know, the animal realms are really hard realms to be born into. There are so many realms, right? According to the Buddha. I don't know. I don't know if there's a hell realm. I don't know if there are ghosts. I mean, there could be ghosts. I had one experience. Andrea, I think I asked you if you ever had an experience before with a ghost or seen something weird.
I don't remember having had an experience with a ghost ever, but I do believe they exist. So I went to, I think I might have mentioned it last time when I did that painting class thing.
Yeah.
And the lady who runs that, who lives in that house, she lives in a heritage house. It was built in like 1907 to 1912 or whatever. It's in Observatory.
Okay.
And it's called I forget now what it's called. It'll come to me. And she said to me, so obviously her and her husband own it now, and you know, she runs art classes and things like that. But she said it previously was I think at one point it was an orphanage, and it obviously was mayor's houses and that kind of thing. And she says she's definitely seen ghosts in the house. Like she's seen a child, obviously, I guess from the orphanage. So she's definitely seen ghosts. So I do believe that they exist. I think I'm quite lucky maybe that I haven't met one, because I'm not sure how I would respond. I must be honest. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm curious about a ghost, but I guess you don't really know how the ghost is going to be, right? So yeah, they definitely
Yeah,
exist though.
yeah. No, I'm pretty sure. I think the closest I ever had, we went on holiday to, where was it? Rhodes. It's like a little sort of beautiful little. I don't know if you ever been to Rhodes. It's close to Lesotho side, and yeah, Allowell North, I think it is. Barkley, Allowell,
Okay,
that sort of area. We stayed in a in a B and b on our way back in Allowell North, and I think it was Allowell North. And I tell you what, I woke up and my wife woke up at the same time, and we were like, "What the hell was that?" And our bodies were tingling, like the hairs were standing up on both of us. And
sure.
yeah, we woke up with this feeling, both of us. It was that, and I mean, that happens to me, but then I think, oh, it's probably just like a nervous system fart or something, But because we both experienced that at the same time, it was like undeniable that something was going on. Mm.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. What is your, sorry, just it's a little bit off topic, but it's
Yeah,
kind of on topic. So what is your thought on um like people who are psychics? I mean, they obviously are, like I'm not saying they're not, but like I find that fascinating, because like I've got a friend of mine who's overseas. She lives in Germany, and she actually a lot of the work that she does, she actually helps. The German police are quite forward thinking,
wow,
so they use her abilities to help solve mysteries, especially with like murders and things. So like what she will do is she'll obviously channel her abilities, and then she'll show them where in the forest, like she's told us stories where she's obviously they've then recovered bodies.
wow.
They've had to obviously, I mean, it's obviously,
Mm.
I guess, in the Alps or wherever they've gone, and they've had to hike for days, and then she eventually finds wherever the place is, and then they dig and dig and dig, and then they obviously find the body. So like, yeah, like it's phenomenal, but like it's like, I don't know, like it's so like otherworldly, I guess, right?
Yeah. No, I truly believe in psychic abilities. These are all abilities that we can develop in meditation. So my teachers say that if you meditate like that an hour a day, you will start to read people's minds. You will start to be clairvoyant. It's like par for the course. It happens, and it's common, especially for people that have turned away from worldly life and have just focused on developing their mind. But my teacher says, but that's an obstacle. Don't focus on it, because sometimes it's a trap, and then you get so caught up in being psychic or being clairvoyant or seeing into the future or something like that then it's an obstacle to your Buddhist practice. Interesting, right? So it
Mm.
happens regularly in Buddhist scripture, where you read about people that can do these things, and read people's minds, etc., etc. So I think a lot of the time with clairvoyance, that's what they do. They can read a person's mind. They can, maybe that murderer or that killer, they get into their headspace, their mind, and they can track back their thoughts and their memories, and tap into that consciousness.
It's completely blows my mind. I mean,
Yeah,
I find it fascinating. I mean, I'm completely fascinated by
yeah.
it. Like as I say, when we go overseas, we obviously met this lady about 5 years ago, and we've kept in touch with her, and she's just
Okay.
so interesting because of the stories she tells, what she's obviously done to help, I guess law enforcement and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And then she does a lot of, actually channels a lot of her energy as well. So she does, that's when she channels her energy like into a spoon, and she can like bend the spoon and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like she showed us, she actually did it with us. Like it's so interesting to watch how she does it. Like it's incredible.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, no, I mean, So the Buddha, they said that the Buddha knew exactly what to teach. Like if you met the Buddha, right, 2,500 years ago, you would become enlightened like this because the Buddha could read your mind, that know exactly what you suffer from and what you need to hear, and they know exactly like all your lives, like every single life that you ever lived, they know. So they know exactly what to say to you.
Sure.
You can't hide from your bullshit. They're like, that's it. That's exactly what you are. This is what you think, and this is how to get out of it. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you will become enlightened. It's just such a convincing diagnosis that you go, holy shit, that's perfect. That's perfect advice. Thank you. Because they know
Wow.
exactly what's wrong with you.
That's incredible. Like
Oh,
I can't remember who I was having this conversation with, but I think one of the things, I mean, what you've just said now, if somebody could just, I guess, point out what somebody's blind spots are, right? Or
yeah.
what someone's mistakes are, because like we always make the same mistakes, or we always like,
Mm,
like, I mean, I think about a friend of mine who's gone through like 2 or 3 relationships, and they're actually all like a complete cut and paste
yeah.
of, you know what I mean? And
Oh,
there's obviously something that which she obviously isn't aware of, I suppose, that she's
cool.
obviously attracting in the other person, and then the same kind of thing repeats.
Yeah.
So yes, like, I mean, I would love that. I mean, pretty sure I'd do the same thing, with
Yeah.
regards to other things. It would be so
Yeah.
great if, somebody who's, as you say, enlightened like the Buddha can like pinpoint it straight away and be like, this is what you're doing wrong. Because
Sure.
sometimes I think we take like a whole lives to figure it out, and I'm not sure we all actually figure it out at all either.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. And I think maybe that's what makes a good therapist is someone that has a high level of intuition that reads you behind your words and can offer you great solutions and advice. So maybe they have that spiritual power. They're not just a good psychologist that have studied really well, but how do they intuitively pick up and read you beyond the things you even say?
I do think, I mean, just from personal experience, I do think that um, a lot of jobs these days, should include more facets outside of just, as you say, like with psychology, like, sure, study it, obviously study human behavior,
Yeah,
et cetera, et cetera. But then I agree, you need to have a certain level of intuition, a certain level of emotional intelligence, possibly some level of spirituality as well, to
yeah,
kind of, give your patients a variety of kind of touch points and experiences.
yeah, yeah.
um
Open their minds
yeah,
up.
I think it's critical, and I think with other jobs as well, possibly, I think, I don't know, my experience in terms of where the world is going, like, I don't know, like, it's not as cut and dried maybe as it was previously, where you can just study for X and then go and do X,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
human connection and all of that, like, is so much more important.
No, absolutely. That's the most important thing is that emotional intelligence. And just because you've got a degree doesn't necessarily mean you're emotionally intelligent.
No.
So hopefully the world is changing. But then again, how do we measure people? And that's how we measure people based on what they've studied. It's a bit sad, really. We don't have another metric. Um,
Yeah, it's a bit warped, in
it
my
is
opinion.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. I mean, I have no degrees. I have no. My qualification is advertising in honors in advertising, honors in advertising. That doesn't help me with my current job. People are asking me for degrees, and I'm like, I don't have any. I've been doing this for ages, and then that's how I get judged. Meanwhile, people hear what I teach and they ask me to do counseling for them, and then they say, "Oh, great, I'll get medical aid to pay for this," and I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry, they can't because I'm not registered, I'm not qualified." And they're like, "Damn, but your therapy has been the best I've ever had." So yeah, it's frustrating.
It is. I can imagine that was very frustrating, and it's unfortunately how the world's been set up. You know, I see with a lot of the research that we do with young people is that it's hasn't really changed much, quite honestly.
Yeah.
You know, the education system, I mean, I'm speaking kind of loosely, you know, maybe more Model C rather than private schools. But even I think maybe, I mean, maybe, I don't know, I don't have too much experience with private schools, but I still don't believe the education system, 30 years down the line, it's not changed enough.
Yeah.
It's just not.
I know.
You know, it absolutely hasn't. I mean, there's certain things that the kids are learning and they are exposed to, etc. But as I say, I interviewed teachers, I think it was last year, the end of last year, and they were mostly Model C school teachers, and I was horrified, you know, in terms of what they were relaying and how similar it was to when I was at school, which was 30 years ago. And I'm just like, hang on, like, if you know, like, yeah, I can't believe we haven't moved that, you know, that much further out of that. You know, it's really scary.
I think we just don't know how to, or you know, it just gets blocked. But anyway, it's our karma as well. We need to change that. So let's come back to the journey. We've now walked out of the six-sided room into a circular room with rainbow lights, and it's crystal. It's a crystal room. The walls are made of crystal with these sort of rainbow reflections. Now, what we've done is we've moved into Tantra. We've moved into Vajrayana. Now, there's three schools of Buddhism, if you remember. The Hinayana, which is the narrow vehicle, the Mahayana, which is the greater vehicle, and the Vajrayana. Now, we could say that the first couple of rooms, the triangular room, realizing the suffering of the corridor, moving into the understanding of karma room with vows, that is all part of Hinayana. That is all part of Hinayana. Then we moved into the six-sided room. That is Mahayana, the six perfections. How do we really help other people? Perfection of giving, perfection of morality, perfection of patience, perfection of joyous effort, perfection of concentration, perfection of wisdom. That's how we truly help other people. They say that the highest form of helping other people is to get your ass enlightened, to see emptiness directly, to understand the diamond, to understand your own emptiness and the emptiness of all things. So then we walk out of that room into another circular room, which is the crystal room with rainbow. And our teacher sits on a throne and says, you are now ready to be initiated into the tantric teachings. It is secret. Okay? Teachers are not allowed to give you a tantric empowerment until you have walked the walk, you have walked the path, and they feel that you are ready for a tantric initiation. A Vajrayana. Vajrayana means diamond way. Diamond way. Okay? So we've entered the diamond way and we take a commitment. Your teacher will say, all right, I'm going to give you this empowerment or that empowerment. And these empowerments involve visualization. Okay? These empowerments involve seeing yourself as a Buddha. Ta-da! Now the lower school doesn't do that. Mahayana school don't do that. Although they do that in many instances because Mahayana and Vajrayana are intimately connected. But you can be Mahayana but not practice Tantra, not see yourself as a Buddha. Tantric path is to see yourself as someone different. And it's a dangerous path. Why does it sound dangerous to see yourself as someone different? Why do you think that's dangerous?
Could it be because I'm not sure. Would it have something to do with your ego?
Yeah. Definitely has everything to do with your ego.
And what about like comparability to others? Like, would it have something to do with that as well?
Not so much. More ego. Okay, so let's unpack that. Ego. Ego. Your ego could really enjoy the fact that now you're a goddess.
Fair point.
I'm Andrea. I'm Andrea the goddess, you know, like you can worship me. I'm goddess. You know, we have a lot of like what we call light workers or spiritual people that we know that see themselves as someone really special. I'm really
Mm.
spiritual, you know. I'm very special. I've got special powers. I even though they don't, I think they just watch too many Disney movies and they've got this idea, you know, their mom told them that you're a special girl and you're a healer and sometimes ego loves that. They get wrapped up in that. I'm special. I'm a somebody, you know, I'm
Mm.
somebody special. I went through that a lot actually when I thought that I was a good teacher. I was living in a temple and people were asking me questions. They were calling me their guru, and I was like, "Oh, I'm a guru." Oh, you know. Ego really enjoyed that until I fell on my ass big time with that idea that I was someone special because people put you up on a pedestal. You think you're
Mm.
special, you tell people you're special, people start believing you if you can speak well and convince them. So then they put you on a pedestal, but once they put you there, you just fall down. You know, so this whole guru idea, I mean, it's great, but that's why this sort of humility that has to be there. If you want to teach people, if people see you as a guru, that's fine. But that's why I say I don't want to be seen as a guru because that creates some form of specialness in people's minds that creates ego problem for me. And I'm just gonna mess that up anyway. Tantra is to see yourself as a Buddha. And there are many different forms of being a Buddha. A Buddha doesn't mean you've got to look like this Indian guy with a top knot and skinny and hairy, and that's who you must see yourself as. Okay. So interestingly enough, at the time of the Buddha, as he was teaching, some of his disciples were seeing other forms of him in different shapes. They weren't seeing the Buddha as a human. They were seeing Buddha as angel, as light being, different formations. So I want to show you now. Imagine we're in that crystal room. And in that crystal room, let me just double check. Let me get it right. I don't want to get it wrong, Andrea, and everybody watching. In that crystal room, hang on. Where was it? Where there were tankas. There were tankas. I think it's as we walked into. Oh, it's as we walked into the crystal room. On the walls are also big paintings of the major tantric deities. Okay, so we're in that crystal room. It's rainbow lights, but in between are big paintings on the wall. And last night I put this together. It took me like an hour, but I wanted to do it. It was a nice thing to do. Um, let me share my screen. These are some of the deities that I've been initiated into, and I wanted to share my tantric world with you. This is Green Tara, okay? An emanation of Buddha. You know, she's a Buddha, Okay, she's a female Buddha, and she has a mantra. This is her mantra: Om Tare Tutare Ture Soha. Okay, so she is a female Buddha, and there's a story to her that goes back that she vowed to become enlightened as a woman because she was pissed off at the injustice of feminism and of sexism and discrimination. But this was thousands of years ago. And she said, when I become a Buddha, I'm going to become a Buddha as a woman. And so there's this energy, this enlightened quality of Tara. You see that her right leg is stretched out, stepping off the lotus, which means that she comes to you to help you quickly. And she helps you with problems and fears, and she gives you abundance. Her mudra, this mudra she's making with her hand, you see this one here, that means don't worry, don't fear. Don't fear. If you call on me, I will be with you. Don't fear. Don't fear. And the other mudra here in the right hand is her hand is open. I will give you whatever it is you want. So practitioners of this tantra, they have qualities of no fear and abundance. They feel that Tara opens up their world and opens up their flow of abundance. And she's very kind. And I think when I grew up a Christian, for me, Mother Mary was the same, right? You had to pray to Mary if you wanted stuff to happen in your life. Mary would speak to God and speak to, Jesus or something and say, hey, Marky boy down there, he's pretty desperate for a soccer ball. He's been praying to me, and I was always taught to pray to Mary as a Catholic if I wanted stuff to happen. Same with Tara. It's interesting similarity is that in the Buddhist tradition, to connect with Tara can help your manifestations, your questions, your needs to be met. Obviously, if they're in line with your karma, it's only going to work if you have the karma for it to work. And then the highest form of that tantra is then to see yourself as Tara. Okay? To see yourself as the deity. It's a big thing. I think, you know what, I'd like to just push pause there today and maybe carry on with this next week, so we can unpack it a little bit more. Yeah. All right. Let's do
Thanks,
a closing
Mark.
meditation, and then then we can pick this up next week. Maybe we can have more of a group discussion if there are more people. All right. Let's do a dedication. So attending this class and speaking of these highest ideas has generated enormous amounts of goodness, good karma, good energy, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna make sure that goodness is shared with the world and it spreads. And imagine that goodness shining from your heart out into the world. May the precious and sublime awakened mind arise in those where it has not arisen. Where it has arisen, may it never wane, but continue to expand forever. Gewadi kewokun, sunam yeshe zozo shin, sunam yeshe lejonwe damba kunia doba shu. All right, Andrea, thanks for joining today.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, so we'll catch you next Saturday.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the weekend.
Thanks, you too, hey.
Thank you. Bye.